Hi everyone, Bandanner here. Today we're looking at ones to watch in early access from the strategy genre. So first up, we're going to talk about WARNO, which I know a couple of people were wondering where it was in the other videos. Well, this is why. It's early access. We've had access to it for 2 years. We can actually play the game, and this seemed a more suitable place for it. For those of you who don't know what WARNO is, it is a real-time tactics game, basically a slightly more tactical variation on real-time strategy. You control huge armies over massive battlefields with up to 10v10 players in multiplayer. All based around a fictional World War III scenario taking place in 1989, where the Cold War basically goes hot. The team are aiming for a level of realism while also making the gameplay fun. It's made by the same team that made the Wargame series, and Wargame Red Dragon came out heading towards 10 years ago now. And compared to those games, it has significant improvements in graphics and also its ease of access, its quality of life features. Though it certainly remains a game which is hard to master. Over the last 2 years of early access, the game has expanded from the planned 12 divisions to now 22, almost double. And also they've added things like operations, which are single missions. They've added the tutorials. We are still waiting on the Army General Campaign, which is taking, unfortunately, quite a while to work their way through, but there is a lot involved in doing that, so I'm not surprised it's taking them longer than planned. We're also now getting a map editor, which is great news. There had been rumblings of it, but it's actually coming out as an alpha very soon, and that will allow the community to make their own maps in the future once they add additional features. And hopefully, eventually, we'll be able to make our own scenarios with it as well. We don't have a specific date for the 1.0 release, but I imagine it's going to be around the time that they finish the Army General campaigns, as obviously a lot of people will be waiting for that single player content, but certainly one to keep an eye on this year. Next up is Nebulous Fleet Command. Take control of your hand-tailored fleet of space warships and use realistic radar, electronic warfare, advanced movement controls in 3D space, and precise targeting to outmaneuver and outwit your opponents in a simulation-heavy tactical space game like no other. Games like this would include things like Nexus the Jupiter incident, released quite a long time ago now, and other such games. It is a very intricate game. You can download the demo, which will allow you to go through the various tutorial missions to give you a taste of what the game actually plays like. Ships are controlled on an individual level, and even their individual systems can be turned on or off, controlled in various different ways, and have different settings altered. Each subsystem within the ship can also be damaged, so you can lose access to your radar in the middle of a fight and not be able to track your targets anymore. Equally, you can do the same to your opponent or use electronic warfare to achieve the same goals. It is most certainly a very advanced space combat simulator. If you're into that sort of thing, I highly recommend giving the demo a go to see what you think. Obviously, I never tell anyone to purchase early access games, but it's certainly one worth keeping an eye on as it's had regular updates. Next up is Cyberknight's Flashpoint, a turn-based tactical shooter along the lines of XCOM. It's got some very clever stealth mechanics, strategic combat, and a unique 23rd century cyberpunk style. Build your crew of hackers, mercs, and malcontents wisely. Their stories will become interwoven with your own, as many have their own mission sets. Use powerful cyberware, faction connections, and more to outsmart the odds and determine your future. This game really impressed me as something from a small standalone studio. I really like the fact that they added in some new concepts, such as the initiative rolls, which is where at the end of every turn your characters must roll initiative along with the enemy, and depending on how they score in that initiative roll, they will be able to take their action in a different position to where they were in the previous turn. For a bit more information about the game, do check out my early access review, which I'll stick down below. Next up is Xenonauts 2, very much another game along the lines of the XCOM series. In fact, probably a lot closer to it because it's still dealing with aliens. Wage a global war of resistance against an alien invasion, command turn-based tactical battles, build a network of covert bases, directly control your fighter wings, and achieve strategic victory in a simulation of asymmetric warfare against a technologically superior foe. This game again is a lot of fun already in early access. I've already done some videos on it, so please do check those out as well if you're interested. The game unfortunately doesn't have a demo, but they're still adding more to the game, including more alien types, more ship types, and obviously expanding the main story's length. Though there is no decided release date as far as I'm aware at the moment, there have been regular milestone updates. If you're a fan of things like XCOM or indeed the original Xenonauts, definitely one worth a look. Next up is another game in a very similar vein, and that is USC Counter Force. Here you lead your space commandos in a revival of turn-based squad tactics inspired by XCOM, Space Hulk and Aliens, featuring in-depth skill and combat systems and multiple game modes. Discover the truth behind the demise of the colony MC-83A and join the USC in defending humanity. This is a really fun game, and I think a lot more forgiving than some of the other XCOM style games, which means it's easier to get into. It also boasts some really fun and exciting weapons, like the nuclear hand cannon, which is exactly what it sounds like, and also things which I can only describe as like a freeze ray. There's a lot of fun weapons in this game. The early access version has had some regular updates since it was released in July 2023, and they're starting to tease and provide sneak peeks at their upcoming campaign, which is aimed at being a grand campaign over an entire planet. Definitely one to keep an eye on over the coming year. Okay, last but certainly not least is a strategy game slash RTS with a twist, and I leave this to last because I know it's something a little bit different, and that is Empires of the Undergrowth, an ant-based RTS. Yes, that's right, it's based around managing colonies of ants. Unlike a lot of the other games on the list, it actually also has a demo, so I recommend going and giving it a try, because I tried it with a lot of trepidation because I didn't know what to expect. When someone says to me an ant-based RTS, it looks intriguing, but you know, someone just said to me it's an ant-based RTS. However, it is genuinely a lot of fun. It's very well thought out how the different types of ants are managed, how they manage their colony, how they feed each other, how they reproduce. It's all done in a very sensible way. These people have obviously done their research. Also, the other enemies that you have to fight and deal with, as well as the environmental hazards, are all very well done too. I really couldn't find many faults with the game when I played it. I do highly recommend checking out the demo if you fancy something a little bit different. It's certainly not a game I would suggest overlooking just because it says it's based around ants. And that brings me to the end of what I feel is quite a short list, to be honest. There are some great games here, but I'm honestly surprised there aren't a lot more already in early access. There are definitely several games that have been mentioned to me that are expected to come into early access sometime over the next year or early next year. But certainly there don't seem to be a huge amount out at the moment that are focused around the RTS or strategy side of things. There are plenty that are based around the management side with some RTS on the side or a mixture of the two, and I'll be covering those in another video. But if you do have any suggestions for strategy games that are in early access and are quite fun, let me know in the comments because I'd genuinely like to take a look and then I can make another updated video later. As ever, thanks for watching everyone, please do like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you all soon.